I have nothing to hide. That's the most dangerous thing you can say in the 21st century. In this video, I'll show you why this attitude is not only naive, but a direct invitation for manipulation and control. Welcome back to my channel, eager learners. Today we're diving into a topic that affects us all, whether we like it or not: data privacy. You may think this is a dry topic for nerds, but I promise you that by the end of this video, you'll understand why your digital privacy is not an option, but a necessity for your freedom and autonomy. We live in a world where every click, every search, every interaction online leaves traces. These traces are collected, analyzed, and often used against us. The illusion that we are anonymous on the internet, or that our data is only used for harmless purposes, is widespread and dangerous. But what exactly happens to your data when you're online? The answer is more complex and disturbing than you might think. Stay tuned to uncover the mechanisms behind the scenes and learn how you can regain control. The invisible hand, data privacy technology. Let's start with the technology that forms the foundation of this ubiquitous data collection. When you surf the internet, you are not alone. Invisible helpers, known as tracking technologies, follow your every move. The most well-known are cookies, small text files that websites store on your device to recognize you. But it goes far beyond that. Pixels are tiny invisible images embedded in web pages or emails that track when and how you interact with content. And then there's fingerprinting, a far more subtle method that uses unique configurations of your browser and hardware to create a profile of you, even if you block cookies. All of these technologies collect data about your browsing behavior, your interests, your locations, and much more. These vast amounts of collected information are the fuel for big data and artificial intelligence. Algorithms process this data at a speed and complexity that is unimaginable to us humans. They recognize patterns that we would never see and make predictions about our behavior: what we will buy next, what news we will read, who we might vote for. A classic example is personalized advertising. You search for a new pair of shoes, and suddenly you see ads for them everywhere. Sounds convenient, right? But it's also a constant reminder that companies know exactly what you want before you even know it yourself. They use your data to target you specifically in order to influence your purchasing decisions. But the technological possibilities are only one side of the coin. The really controversial questions arise when we talk about the moral limits of these technologies. What is ethically acceptable and where does surveillance begin? We'll clarify that in a moment. The moral dilemma, the ethics of data privacy. The discussion about data privacy is deeply rooted in philosophical questions. The right to privacy is often seen as a fundamental human right, crucial to our dignity and our ability to develop freely. It allows us to set boundaries and decide who has access to our thoughts, feelings, and lives. But in the digital age, this right is constantly under pressure. On the one hand, it conflicts with the desire for security. Governments often argue that comprehensive surveillance is necessary to combat crime and terrorism. On the other hand, it clashes with our convenience. Personalized services, quick logins, and tailored recommendations are often only possible if we give up some of our privacy. A central concept in this debate is surveillance capitalism, coined by Harvard professor Shoshana Zuboff. She describes how companies use our personal data as a raw material to predict and influence behavior. It is no longer just about selling products, but about monetizing our behavior. This leads to psychological manipulation, where algorithms are optimized to influence our decisions. Think of political campaigns that specifically target your fears and hopes, or product placements that are tailored precisely to your weaknesses. The ethical dilemmas are immense. Is the current form of consent we give through endless terms and conditions really informed consent? Or do we simply click accept in order to use the service? And what about discrimination? Algorithms trained on historical data can reinforce biases and lead to discrimination, whether in creditworthiness, job searches, or even medical care. Given these ethical challenges, the question arises: are we helplessly at the mercy of the tech giants? Fortunately, there are mechanisms in place to protect us. Let's dive into the world of data regulation. The legal framework, data privacy regulation. The good news is that the world has begun to respond to these challenges. The most prominent example is the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, which came into force. The GDPR is a milestone in data protection and has global implications. Its core principles are revolutionary. It gives you the right to be forgotten, the right to data portability. You can take your data from one service to another, and the right to access. You can find out what data is stored about you. Companies that violate the GDPR face severe penalties, which has forced many to rethink their practices. Outside Europe, there are also important initiatives, such as the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, in the US, which grants consumers similar rights, and laws in Brazil and India, which show that data protection is a global concern. But there are also challenges and an uncertain future. Enforcing these laws is often difficult, especially when it comes to global companies. Case law often lags behind technological progress. New technologies such as artificial intelligence and quantum computing constantly challenge existing regulations and require constant adjustments. This means that laws alone are not enough. This is where the role of the individual comes into play. Your personal responsibility is required. We have examined the technology, ethics, and laws. But what does all this mean for you specifically? And how can you actively protect yourself? I will reveal the most important steps in the conclusion. Your protective shield. Conclusion and recommendations for action. We have seen that data privacy is much more than just a technical detail. It is a cornerstone of our freedom and autonomy in the digital world. The core message is clear. Data privacy is not an option but a necessity. It's time to regain control over your digital footprint. So what can you do? First, take a critical stance toward your own data usage. Don't just read the terms and conditions, but question what data you really want to share. Second, use data protection tools. VPNs mask your IP address, browser extensions block trackers, and secure messenger services protect your communications. Third, stay informed and assert your rights. The GDPR and similar laws give you powerful tools. Use them. Your data is not just zeros and ones. It is a part of you. Protect it because your digital future depends on it. If you are eager to learn and want to educate yourself, sign up for a free subscription now.